trying very hard to get away with this one. I don't know if the people are going to forget.
People are never going to forget. The problem is, do we have any power? What do we do? What do you do? You definitely can change the way you vote, like if it comes up again. But the problem is, this is a bipartisan issue.
What do you mean, Joe Rogan? What do you mean? What can we do? What power do we have? Are you asking that of the American people or yourself, a man worth $200 million plus and with an audience of at least 20 million? I appreciate that you don't want to let the issue of the Epstein files go, and you're continuing to talk about this enormous scandal that the Trump regime has created by refusing to release the Epstein files after Donald Trump ran, promising his MAGA base that he would release them basically immediately. And I also appreciate that you've told your audience maybe you can vote differently next time. Cool. Why didn't you know better before you platformed Donald Trump on your channel in his 2024 presidential campaign, which got him 41 million views? You platformed him to 41 million people. You promoted alt-right. You still promote alt-right guests and alt-right talking points. In court documents, Donald Trump's own Department of Justice revealed that there are more than 1,000 victims of Jeffrey Epstein. If you wanted justice for those folks, why were you platforming a man who was Jeffrey Epstein's best friend, who said back in 2002 in an interview with The New Yorker that he and Jeffrey Epstein both liked beautiful women and he knew Epstein liked them on the younger side? I've said this about people who want to leave MAGA. I've said this about regretful Trump voters, and I'm going to say the same thing to you, Joe. If you regret the fact that you supported Donald Trump, if the Epstein files are the thing that is making you question your choices. I've also seen you, Joe, acting concerned about what Donald Trump is doing to immigrants. So clearly somewhere underneath the surface, you must have a number of doubts about what you've supported. If you regret your choice, then work to fix it. Actions speak louder than words. Work to undo the harm that you have done. Use your massive platform and your massive fortune to work to restore democracy, to work to get justice for the Epstein victims, to work to undo the things that the Trump regime has done, which is resulting in the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people around the world. It will very quickly become millions of people. You're not powerless. You're extremely wealthy with a giant platform. You influenced people to support this. You helped bring about this reality we are in now. I'm glad you mentioned that folks could vote differently. Why don't you tell your audience about how Mike Johnson and the Republicans shut down Congress and ran away so that the Epstein files could not be subpoenaed? Why don't you tell your audience about how many Republicans don't want everybody to know what's inside the Epstein files? They don't want justice for the victims of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Speaking of Ghislaine Maxwell,
what do? You definitely can change the way you vote, like if it comes up again. But the problem is, this is a bipartisan issue.
It's bipartisan.
No, it's not.
I don't know. I heard it's a Democratic hoax.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Oh, good. Okay. So you don't believe Donald Trump when he said that this is a big hoax, when he said it's all a big hoax perpetuated by the Democrats, and that anybody who's in MAGA who believes it has been suckered by the radical left. It's good to see that you don't believe that this is a hoax. Why would it be a hoax if Ghislaine Maxwell is sitting in prison, which you admit to?
Well, it's certainly not a hoax if you go to jail. It's certainly not a hoax if Ghislaine Maxwell's in jail too. So she's in jail for sex trafficking. Excuse me. She's in jail for sex trafficking. But the question is to who? Who's she in jail? You have to be sex trafficking to somebody in order to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
So who? How's that work? She's been in jail for years. So how's that work?
Is she looking at a pardon? Are they gonna?
I don't know, but they just moved her to another prison.
No, it's good, my dude, that you're trying to put two and two together there. Again, Department of Justice says Jeffrey Epstein has over 1,000 victims that it knows of. Ghislaine Maxwell was found guilty on 5 counts. Things like procuring minors, trafficking minors, transporting minors across state lines, and that she committed those crimes over more than 10 years. But Donald Trump is trying to tell the American people that it's a hoax, that the Department of Justice shouldn't release the files and we should all just move on. Now, there are actually two really interesting pieces of news that came out today in relation to Jeffrey Epstein. The first is that a judge denied the Department of Justice's request to release the Epstein grand jury transcripts. Right, this was the Trump DOJ's pathetic attempt to not release their huge volume of information that they had. They're trying to pacify everybody by just having the Epstein files transcripts released, which is a very small amount of information compared to everything that they have in the Epstein files that were sitting on Pam Bondi's desk for weeks and weeks and weeks. And a judge today ruled that not only did the DOJ fail to reach the high bar needed to unseal that material, he straight up said, hey, y'all have far more information already. Just release that. Go ahead and release what you have. You don't need the transcripts. Let me read this little clip from the judge, and then I want to tell you what else is going on today around the Epstein files. The government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files and materials dwarf the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials. The judge noted that the government's motion to have those 70 pages of grand jury transcripts released, quote, appears to be a diversion from the breadth and scope of the Epstein files in the government's possession. It was meant to be a distraction. It was meant to pacify everybody. Say, here, we'll give you these 70 pages of extremely limited information that we know doesn't include anything about our boy. And then y'all will just move on and forget, and you won't come asking for the 100,000 pages that we know have Donald Trump's name all over them because the FBI admitted to redacting his name, and Pam Bondi went and told Trump his name was all up in the Epstein files. Right, they thought we were all stupid enough to just accept those 70 pages as all there is in the Epstein files. I mean, my Senator Ron Wyden has been shouting to the skies, telling everybody that he gave Pam Bondi a tremendous amount of financial information about Epstein's transactions in and out of his account, more than 4,500 financial transactions that are all leads that the Department of Justice under Donald Trump is failing to investigate. Pam Bondi has said, case closed, and Ron Wyden has said, but I gave you a huge amount of information that's really important. Don't you want to investigate who was sending money to Epstein and then where Epstein was sending that money after he got it? Why would you not want to investigate that? And in that clip, Joe Rogan said, oh yeah, wasn't Ghislaine Maxwell transferred to a minimum security prison? Could you imagine Republicans if they heard that someone who was a sex offender, who had been trafficking girls, who was a man, had been sent to a minimum security prison right in their backyard, in their community? But Donald Trump was fine doing that. He was sending a sex offender who trafficked potentially 1,000 women and girls over a decade from a maximum security facility to a minimum security facility, after she said, I don't know anything about Donald Trump. So today there was a protest in Texas in front of that minimum security prison because residents of that community are not happy. Let me play you this clip from KBTX from just a couple of hours ago.
A group of demonstrators marched to the Bryan Federal Prison Camp to protest Ghislaine Maxwell's move to the minimum security facility. KBTX's Dylan Chris Walkus spoke with group members about what actions they want to see taken.
We're advocating full transparency between the government and its citizens, especially when things that shift around and happen on a national level directly affect our community.
Many questions surround Ghislaine Maxwell's recent transfer to what is known as one of the nation's most comfortable prisons.
I don't think this is the safest place for her to be necessarily when it's not a prison that has a lot of security.
Local resident and 10th Congressional District candidate Dawn Marshall says people in the community are confused.
The sentiment is they don't want her here. They think that she is dangerous to the community and to the people that live there. They also are just scratching their heads, saying, what in God's green earth is going on here? Was she given, is this a bribe? Is this for her safety?
Joe Rogan, the power of your platform helped get Donald Trump elected. You profited tremendously off that. What did you get? Was it like a $250 million contract in 2024 with Spotify? You've made yourself very, very wealthy platforming the alt-right, helping Donald Trump rise to power. You had the power to do that. Now use your platform to undo the harm that you've done. And to the rest of us, regular American people, there's a lot we can do. yes, definitely everybody needs to be voting in the midterms. And we absolutely have to keep up the public pressure on this issue. Do not let it fall from the headlines.